A disturbing sight in the capital city of Bangladesh. The country is celebrating an Islamic holiday with mass animal sacrifices. Now the city streets have been turned into rivers of blood. The Islamic festival is considered the Feast of Sacrifice. Muslims slaughter animals to honor Abraham. Residents have been using parking lots, garages, and alleys to kill the animals, and heavy rains have washed all the blood into the street.
Images have emerged of a malnourished child reduced to little more than skin and bones at a hospital in war-torn Yemen. A warning, you may find the following images disturbing. You can see the boy on the hospital bed extremely malnourished. And we'll bring you up another image of the child sitting next to his mother, wearing nothing more than a nappy and a bandage. But Abdullah is far from the only one. Since the start of this war and the Saudi-led coalition's incursion, Yemen has been plunged into a horrific humanitarian crisis, with children suffering the most. We reached out to UNICEF. They described the situation there as horrific.
The number of children that have been killed because of the conflict is above 1,000 children. Right now, the main problem of the country is the collapse of the health system, and many more children will die from the collapse of the health system and the economic crisis than from the conflict itself. Right now, what we need is really the support from the international community to make sure the health system is not collapse. If we don't have a health system that is functioning, we will not be able to provide humanitarian services to the children. So it's very important that we maintain the health system alive.
Human rights groups accuse the coalition of war crimes, saying they bombed civilian facilities such as schools and hospitals. But despite this, Saudi Arabia enjoys the continued support of the UK and the US, who supply the Arab monarchy with arms. The UK government has long faced public criticism amid claims UK-made weapons are being used in the war on Yemen. The outcry has apparently forced Britain's parliament to look into suspending its multi-billion-dollar arms sales to the kingdom. Amid the concerns, the Saudi foreign minister has paid what's being described as a lobbying visit to London to brief MPs. And although few details of the closed-door talks have been released, no contracts appear to have been stopped so far. Andrew Smith of the Campaign Against Arms Trade says war is a racket and civilians are just collateral damage.
There's absolutely nowhere in Yemen that is a safe space for Yemenis people. Certainly, arms company profits are being put ahead of human rights. And it's not just in Saudi Arabia. The UK arms a number of oppressive regimes all around the world. The UK isn't arming or supporting the Houthi groups in Yemen. It is arming and supporting the Saudi regime. And we know from the UN that the Saudi-led bombardment has killed twice as many people as all other forces combined. And it has been an almost indiscriminate bombing. This has been a UK policy for decades. For decades now, Saudi Arabia has been by far the largest buyer of UK arms. And the results have been devastating for both people in Saudi Arabia and for people in Yemen.
A coalition of Flint residents have asked a federal judge to order city and state officials to ensure access to safe drinking water. Along with national advocacy groups, the legal retort is in response to a continuing lead contamination crisis that began in 2014. An attorney involved with the coalition added that after 2 years, Flint residents still cannot turn on their water taps without worrying about lead exposure. The residents and advocacy groups sued the city and state in January, alleging violations of the Federal Safe Water Drinking Act and seeking court intervention.
The outrage Americans experienced after the water of Flint, Michigan was found to be poisoned with high levels of lead was as palpable as sandpaper. Between 6,000 and and 12,000 children were exposed, as elevated blood levels rose from 2.5% in 2013 to as high as 5% in 2015. 6 Michigan state employees are making plea deals of willful neglect as they face misdemeanor charges of neglect of duty. And as Flint residents still struggle today to acquire clean drinking water, another part of America is yet again poisoned by lead. 1,200 East Chicago, Indiana residents, 2/3 of them children, are finally being relocated due to levels as high as 220 times above the lead limit and 130 times above the arsenic limit as a result of a nearby U.S. smelter and lead refinery that closed in 1985. 27 years later, EPA estimates that approximately 53% of the properties in the area, roughly 723 of the 1,271 properties, will require cleanup. The New York Times reported. Now, in a situation that many fearful residents are comparing to the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, they are asking why neither the state nor the Environmental Protection Agency told them just how toxic their soil was much sooner. And a timeline is emerging that suggests a painfully slow government process of confronting the problem.
I was hoping to speak with the mayor.
The mayor wouldn't talk to us on camera, but CNN obtained this scathing letter to Gina McCarthy, the EPA administrator. The mayor writes, Region 5 received soil sampling data in December of 2014, yet failed to share such data with the city until May 24th, 2016.
Elsewhere in the region, Indian health officials have assured the public that the government is well equipped to battle chikungunya disease. The illness is spread by mosquitoes with symptoms including fever and joint and muscle pains. There's no cure, but it is rarely fatal. Even so, 3 patients died in the Indian capital, New Delhi, on Tuesday. More than 8,000 people are reported to have been affected there this year.
The strongest winds in 21 years have torn through Taiwan this week. More than 860,000 homes are now without power. Over 710,000 homes are experiencing water shortages. Local schools and businesses are closed and hundreds of flights have also been cancelled. Water transportation and train services in the east and south of the island are paralyzed. More rain is expected in the south. Flood warnings are out for cities and counties like Kaohsiung and Hualien.
They look like any other South Sudanese residents of this refugee camp, but some of them are carrying a deep shame. Women, girls, and at times boys, victims of sexual violence.
They used to come at night, they called, they knock at your door till they reproduce.
Stella fled to Uganda in July of this year. She told us attacks were happening all the time in her South Sudanese village of Numile.
We're having far distance, where we, the women, we are collecting firewoods. You may find that once we go to collect the firewoods, we may go with a group because one person can't go in the bush. In most cases, you may find that others are raped and being left in the bush. They cannot even come at home.
Rape is considered to be a war crime under international law, and human rights organizations say it's been carried out by all sides since the war began in South Sudan.
5 police officers and a protester are injured after fighting broke out in Paris. Demonstrators angry at new labor reforms have rallied across France. They say the legislation makes it easier for employers to fire workers and reduce their pay.
malnourished child reduced to little more than skin and bones at a hospital in war-torn Yemen. A warning, you may find the following images disturbing. You can see the boy on the hospital bed extremely malnourished, and we'll bring you...
Considered the Feast of Sacrifice. Muslims slaughter animals to honor Abraham. Residents have been using parking lots, garages, and alleys to kill the animals, and heavy rains have washed all the blood into the street.
Images have emerged of a malnourished. Up another image of the child sitting next to his mother, wearing nothing more than a nappy and a bandage. But Abdullah is far from the only one. Since the start of this war and the Saudi-led coalition's incursion.
A disturbing sight in the capital city of Bangladesh. The country is celebrating an Islamic holiday with mass animal sacrifices. Now the city streets have been turned into rivers of blood. The Islamic festival is